The movie Fall Guy came out in theaters last weekend, and it promises to be the perfect date night movie, really something for everyone. And while I'm not sure it met that, it's still one of the best movies to see in the beginning of the summer movie season. Hi, you're watching This, That, and Theology, helping you see your worldview and the worldview around you, particularly as it shows up in things like movies and video games and other things that we often consume on a regular basis. We're in May, and schools are starting to get let out. People are looking for ways to spend time, and many of them are heading back to the cinema. And Fall Guy really tries to be one of those movies that everybody can go see. It has romance, it has action, it has comedy. It's really kind of an all-around good film. Now, even though there's something for everybody in this film, that doesn't mean that everything in this film is good. In fact, one of the content concerns you do have with this is that while it is an action film and there's not a whole lot of people dying, there is certainly some elements of violence. There's some brutal attacks, some combat that happens that's actually quite uncomfortable to be watching. I will also say that the language in this film is something that has been commented on by other reviewers. If you saw the plugged-in review that came out on the very day of release, it noticed that there was so much language that it really pushed the upper limit of what they would expect in a PG-13 film. Here at This, That, and Theology, we really review movies on two categories. First of all, is it a film that's worth seeing? If it's a great film as far as its content, but it's just not well made, why would you bother? And secondly, we also look to see, is this a film that has something to talk about? Something that relates to worldview issues that we can either dialogue about how it's different or celebrate how it matches with a biblical worldview. As far as the first category goes, I loved this film. It was fantastic. I'm actually looking forward to going and seeing it again, possibly. And that's not very typical with me in the movies. I tend to see it in the theaters and go, that was good, maybe I'll see it later. And this is one that I wouldn't mind seeing again. I've even thought about taking some of my kids, because even though the language is a little more coarse than I'd like, the content and the messaging of this film is actually really good. Cinematography is fantastic. The action scenes are great. Even though it's a Hollywood version of what happens in Hollywood, seeing some of these great epic sci-fi battles without any of the special effects is amusing. The humor is good. The story, while somewhat predictable, is at least engaging. And the romance between the two characters is sweet and romantic and relatable, and it actually seems like something that could really happen in real life, which is not common in most Hollywood films. The actors give a great performance. The numerous stuntmen that were used in this film really bring it to life, and while it may not be a shoo-in for any Academy Awards, it's definitely one of the best popcorn films of the year so far. The second area we want to talk about is worldview. What kind of worldviews are being talked about and honored and glorified, and is it something that's worth us spending our time talking about? Early on in the film, we understand that when a stunt guy does a stunt that is particularly dangerous, he almost always will give a thumbs up, letting everybody know that he's okay, that he's able to get up and do it again. Throughout that film, we see the thumbs up sign as our main character goes through some pretty intense stunts, some which are very clear are hurting a lot. He's set on fire. He's dropped from 10 stories up. He's in car crashes. He's throwing himself through windows. All of these things are painful and they hurt. But he's always constantly giving that thumbs up sign. One of the messages of the film, both explicitly and implicitly, is the value of getting up. Even though it hurts, even though it's difficult, to go ahead and get up and do it again. But what makes this film worth something isn't that they just give the thumbs up and they get up. But at one point, very early on in the film, there's a moment where he's not okay. How he deals with that not being okay, we see as something that's also not okay. It takes the entire film for him to recognize that he needs help. And to be honest, that's something we all need to learn how to be better about. There's something about failure. There's something about being insufficient. There's something about being hurt that in general people don't want to admit. I know some of you are saying, well, that's obvious. Nobody wants to admit they're weak. But we tend to hide those areas where we are weakest. We don't want to admit when we need help. We don't want to admit when we fail. And we'll go to great lengths to cover up those areas where we're simply not great at. From a biblical worldview, we need to recognize that not only are we not okay all the times, but there are some things that we simply can't do. One of the core tenets of the gospel is that we are incapable of making ourselves righteous before God, that we need help, that we needed someone to come and take our place because there was nothing we could do to ever restore that relationship with God. Jesus came and took our place. He lived a perfect life in complete obedience, and yet he took the punishment that we earned, that he didn't. And because of that sacrifice, we are able to enjoy our relationship with God. And even beyond the whole issue of how we make ourselves right with God, sometimes we need help. One of my favorite proverbs is Proverbs 27:17, which tells us, like iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. The points in this film when things actually started to come together and make sense, that he was able to move forward in the plot, happened when he wasn't doing it all on his own. And that's a lesson all of us need to take with us. And while this film may not live up to its expectation as the perfect date night film, I will tell you that there is something for everyone. And it's a film that doesn't just have good cinematography, good acting, great action sequences. It has messages that we need to think about and apply to our own lives. So as far as a This, That, and Theology review, this is one that gets my thumbs up. Thank you for watching This, That, and Theology. Hopefully these reviews are helping you make your decisions as you head to the theater. If it has, give us a like, let us know in the comments, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time right here on This, That, and Theology.
I'll buy you a drink when this is over. Engage your core.
Yeah, boy! Stunts!
What are you doing later? Want to go to a beach somewhere?
Drink a spicy margarita.
Make some bad decisions.
Yes.